إذا واحد راح جدة أي حد أنا عندي واحد رواية يعني رواية لازم تجيب هاي الخزف هاي واحد أي شيء
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وبارك الخلق أجمعين والصلاة والسلام على خير خلق سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد الصلاة والسلام على حبيبه النبيين وعلى المعصومين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. السلام عليكم.
اللهم صل على محمد وآله.
Brothers and sisters, السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Ramadan Mubarak to each and every one of you, inshallah. So we wanted to continue our discussion today concerning the history and development of Islam in North America, and to mention very quickly for you how our Pakistani brothers were able to mislead so many African Americans in North America. Oh, it's a surprise? Or now you got shocked all of a sudden? So let's beat you in your head a little bit today. Send a loud salam. Higher. Y'all haven't heard about the Nation of Islam? You know about the Nation of Islam? No, you don't know about the Nation of Islam, apparently. The Nation of Islam was an Islamic movement, and it's not really Islamic at all, but it's a pseudo-Islamic movement started in 1930 in Detroit, Michigan. Its founder was a man by the name of Wali Dad Muhammad, later known as Fard Muhammad. This man was a traveling salesman in the Chicago area to begin with. He traveled door to door selling silks, usually scarves and clothing, to the poorer members of the community. When he would talk to them about the silks, the African American community, he would tell them that this is from your homeland, Africa, where you're originally from. And he would teach the Black Americans, African Americans, about their history and tell them that originally they were from Africa and that their original religion was Islam and that they were Muslims. And this was his teaching. And in this way, he was able to gather around him some followers. When the people invited him in to eat with them, he would eat whatever was given to him, but then he would also tell them that, for instance, the eating of pork was forbidden. This isn't what your ancestors ate in Africa, and it's against your teachings and your original religion of Islam. And in this way, from 1930 to 1934, this man was able to create a pseudo-Islamic movement in North America that's known today as the Nation of Islam. Have you all heard of Louis Farrakhan? Huh? These people aren't really Muslims. Let's run over some of their aqidah before we get a chance to run over some of ours, inshallah. Send us salawat. So they taught that Islam is the natural religion of the black nation, of all black people. They teach that black people constitute a nation, and that through the Islamic and that through the transatlantic slave trade, they were systematically denied of knowledge of their history, their language, their culture, and their religion, and that they've lost control of their lives. The main belief that has been taught to the followers of the Nation of Islam is that there is only one God who appeared in the person of Wallace Fard Muhammad, also known as Walidad Muhammad, also known as Fard Muhammad. This person is God, not God incarnate. They don't believe in hulul. You know what we mean by hulul, right? Okay, so let's talk about it. Hulul, since we were asked to talk a little bit about aqaid tonight. Hulul is the belief that God can possess or occupy the physical body of a human being or of a thing. We as Muslims, we don't believe in this. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cannot take a physical shape. There's a number of reasons why we don't believe this. I'll just give you two. Number one, inside of us is a soul. There's no room inside of us for my soul and something else. You dig it? The vessel is not big enough. The second thing is that for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to take a physical form, to do hulul, to take a physical shape, then this would be weakness, naqs, deficiency on the part of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is deficiency and aib, and we don't believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can accept any sort of deficiency or aib. For Allah to do hulul into the body of another, it means that then Allah will be confined in time and in space. And we do not believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can be put into a box, right? But that's what these people taught. This is what Fard Muhammad taught. That God appeared in the person of Fard Muhammad, not as an incarnation, not as a manifestation. Why do we make this distinction? Because followers of the Nation of Islam do not believe in what they call a mystery God. This Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we believe in, that cannot be touched, that cannot be seen, that cannot be physicalized or put into a box in any way, they don't believe in that. They call this a mystery God. And they don't believe in that. Their primary teaching is that Fard Muhammad is God. That Elijah Muhammad is the messenger of God. And so therefore, when Nation of Islam practitioners say there is no God but Allah, Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, their intent is Fard Muhammad as God, Elijah Muhammad as the messenger of God. Are y'all with me up to here? Okay, let's continue. Send us salawat real quick, inshallah. So they believe that Allah came to North America in the person of Wallace Fard Muhammad to teach people, black people, about their true history. They believe that Elijah Muhammad is their messenger of God. They don't make salat as we make salat, with qiyam, ruku, and sajda. They don't fast in Shahr Ramadan as we fast in Shahr Ramadan. They fast in the month of December. And their basic teachings is as follows. This is what they call the supreme wisdom. It teaches that, from the general perspective, 85% of the world's people no matter what race, no matter where they're from, are misled, have been fooled, are deaf, dumb, and blind. 10% of the world's population manipulate and mislead that 85% of the world's population, through mass media, through trickery, and through politics and religion. And the remaining 5% of the population of the world are what they call the poor righteous teachers. These poor righteous teachers are in constant conflict with the 10% to save the souls of the 85%. Are y'all with me? Okay, let's sum it up here now then with this. The Nation of Islam is a black supremacist movement. They believe that the original man, and indeed God himself, is black. They believe that all other races are derived from the black race through genetic engineering by the prophet Yaqub. They call Yaqub the big head scientist. They say that Yaqub, Nastaghfirullah, began these experimentations on the human race in Makkah. He was expelled from Makkah by the tribe of Shabazz, sent to the island of Patmos, which is in Greece, where he continued his genetic experimentations. And through these genetic experimentations, the white race, and indeed every other race, was created through genetic experimentation. As such, the black man is the original man and has a spark of divinity inside of him, and all other races are copies of this original man and do not have the spark of divinity inside of them. Do y'all dig me so far? Now, why did we blame our Pakistani brothers from the beginning? Why did we blame them? It has been great controversy to figure out who is this man, Fard Muhammad, also known as Walidad Muhammad. Where did he come from? He appeared mysteriously in Detroit in 1930, and 4 years later, he had a following of 8,000 people. This is the origin of the Nation of Islam. And then he asked his chief follower, Elijah Muhammad, to drive him to the airport. They went to the airport, they embraced, they kissed, and Walidad Muhammad, yani Fard Muhammad, disappears from the scene, never to be seen again or heard from again. It's been a subject of great controversy. Who is this Walidad Muhammad? Who is this Fard Muhammad? Modern historians have come up with this conclusion that from numerous interviews from people of that time, as well as investigations, they found that, number one, a man known as David Ford L. was a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America. You remember we mentioned them a few nights ago. This man was described by members of the Moorish Science Temple of America as not being an African American. He was not black. In fact, they described him as being an East Indian. This man was also a member of Marcus Garvey's movement. You remember we mentioned Marcus Garvey a few nights ago. And the members of Marcus Garvey's movement also described him as an Easterner, maybe an Arab or an Indian. Today we know that Walidad Muhammad is the son of Babaji and Zaradad from Shinka, Pakistan, a small village in the Punjab in Pakistan. This man traveled to America through New Zealand and on to Oregon, down to California, and out to the Midwest of Chicago and Detroit, where he founded this movement. And that's why I started this speech by making a little trouble with our Pakistani brothers that how you were able to mislead thousands and thousands of African Americans by leading them into this pseudo-Islamic cult, because that's exactly what this thing was. Now, why is this movement, which has very little attachment to Islam, right? Why do we even include it in our history of Islam and included in our discussions on the development of Islam in North America. And we do that for two reasons. Number one, because of Haj Malik Shabazz. You know Haj Malik Shabazz? Malcolm X. Huh? Malcolm X and Imam Warithuddin Muhammad. Y'all ever heard of Warithuddin Muhammad? This is Elijah Muhammad's son. So let's mention both of these very briefly so we can move on, inshallah. Say the salam. Everybody is familiar with Malcolm X. Everyone knows his story. That after a stint in prison in the 50s, he joined the Nation of Islam and very soon became a chief minister in the Nation of Islam. He supported the theology that I've just explained to you 100% for the majority of his life. However, towards the end of his life, he began to realize some incongruities. As we mentioned a few nights ago, he was greatly influenced by a man by the name of Dr. Muhammad Mahdi, who was a Shi'i of Iranian or Pakistani descent. This man had a great influence on Malcolm X and was actually one of the people that after Malcolm X got into some disputes with the leadership of the Nation of Islam, helped to arrange Malcolm X's Hajj to Mecca. It's during this pilgrimage to Mecca that the veil is removed from the eyes of Malcolm X, because in the Nation of Islam, members were taught that white men cannot enter Mecca. That Mecca is a city inhabited by only black people and no other races are allowed to enter Mecca. When Malcolm X went on the Hajj and saw all races from all over the world participating in the Hajj, then this woke him up even more. And he began to look into what we call real Islam. Now I know that we like to pick out some places that, you know, there's a difference between Tasamun and Tashayyuh, but really look, let's be honest. In the fundamentals of Islam, in Tawheed and the Nubuwwat and the Qiyamat, there's no difference in these things. And so therefore, Malcolm began to move in this direction towards what we call mainstream Islam. Y'all dig it? By the time Malcolm X returns to North America, right? He is, for all intents and purposes, a Sunni Muslim, practicing Sunni Islam. Him and the son of Warithuddin Muhammad, Elijah Muhammad, Warithuddin Muhammad, were very close friends. Warithuddin Muhammad, after a stint in prison for evading the dodging the draft, began reading the Quran and realized that his own father's teachings, Elijah Muhammad's teachings, were not in line with the teachings of the Quran. Warithuddin Muhammad left prison and he rejoined the Nation of Islam, but he was excommunicated from the Nation of Islam 5 times before the death of his father. When Elijah Muhammad passed away in 1975, Warithuddin Muhammad took over the movement and disbanded the Nation of Islam and created the American Muslim Association of America, which today is primarily a Sunni organization. Warithuddin Muhammad took most of his father's followers with him, leaving the old Nation of Islam as a shell of itself. The Nation of Islam was reformulated in 1978 by Louis Farrakhan, who you know and all love today. This man is not a Muslim. Even when he visited Qom back in the 90s, the group of American students that were there at the time, including myself, lobbied Hawza Ilmiya Qom not to have this man come and speak, because we don't recognize him as a Muslim, and he does not represent the Muslims of North America. They do not believe in Tawheed. They do not believe in Allah as we believe in Allah. They still believe that Fard Muhammad is Allah. they still believe that Elijah Muhammad is a messenger of Allah. And they don't believe in the finality of the prophethood of Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But the Iranians had their own global strategic interests to follow, and they invited him anyway. And it's just like today. Many organizations today, Sunni organizations, Muslim organizations, still invite this man to speak, even though in reality these people are not Muslims. Okay, so y'all do it so far. Send us salamat. Through the influence of Muhammad Muhammad and Malcolm X, you will find that most followers of Elijah Muhammad, the Nation of Islam, entered into what we'll call mainstream Islam. So that today, most African Americans that you know as Muslims, even as Shia Muslims, because there's quite a few African American Shia Muslims, these people that you know as Muslims and as Shia Muslims, they came through this movement. Their fathers or grandfathers were members in the Nation of Islam and then became Sunni. And then with the advent of the Islamic Revolution in Iran in 1979, many of them became Shi'i. I know that a lot of people would like to think that the Lebanese and the Iraqis in Michigan brought Tashayyu to North America, but they did no such thing. I'm sorry to give you the bad news. What did they do then? Since we're talking about this aspect of the history and development of Islam in North America, all these black people that became Shi'i, all the Hispanics that became Shi'i, all the white people that became Shi'i Muslims, the blacks came through the Nation of Islam and later Muhammad Muhammad's movement, which was non-sectarian Sunnism, right? They did not follow a particular branch of Islam. How did Tashayyu arrive in North America? Do you think the Lebanese in Dearborn did it? No, they were locked up in mini Beirut in Dearborn. I want to make this very clear. One of the biggest downfalls of the immigrant community in North America, and here we'll talk about the Shias in Dearborn, is when they came here, they segregated themselves from the rest of the American population. When they open centers, they reopen a little piece of home. It's a little slice of Pakistan, or a little slice of Iraq, or a little slice of Beirut, right here in America. And if you go there and you don't fit in, you will feel weird. What's going on here in Indianapolis is istisna'i. It's exceptional. And it does not follow the norm in the rest of the country. In the rest of the country, Pakistanis do not attend Arab centers. In the rest of the country, Arabs do not attend Persian centers. Do y'all understand me? Why? Because we're attempting to create a little slice of home where we can speak our own languages, practice our own culture, and eat our own food. So when a Pakistani attends an Arab center in the rest of the country, he's kind of out of place because they don't serve food with filth. They don't speak Urdu. They don't recite the same Marsias. They don't even have the same rhythm. Listen to the rhythm of a Pakistani Indian Noha. Listen to the rhythm of an Iraqi Noha. Different. Sometimes you see the Pakistanis struggling to keep rhythm with the Iraqis because they're a lot more funky, I'll be honest with you. Okay? Pakistanis and Indians, they're a whole lot more funky than the Iraqis. Even though the Iraqis are a bit closer to Africa, I don't know what happened. Okay? But the Pakistanis, they get down. Maybe it's the Qawwali. Maybe it's the bass line of Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan. I don't know. But they get down with the Nuha. Right? Whereas the Iraqis, they got a different style. They got a different rhythm. And so because of these differences in the rest of the country, these people don't blend. So when you come across today, Shias who are Americans, how did they become Shi'i? was through these previous movements. Like the movement of Warith Muhammad, it was non-sectarian Sunni. And then when the Islamic Revolution in Iran occurred and everybody saw this on the TV screens, then people started looking into it themselves. You understand me? In the nights to come, we'll go into more in-depth, inshallah, about how Shiism developed in North America, inshallah. And I'll be honest with you, again, it was not the Lebanese of Dearborn. Even though we say that the Shia heartland in America is Dearborn, Michigan, they have done nothing to spread Tashayyuq in North America. In fact, Khojas have done more. The Khoja Ifna Ashari organizations, Nasimco, Wofis, Bilal Muslim Mission, they've done more to spread the teachings of Ahlul Bayt in North America than the people in Dearborn ever did. I often make trouble with the coaches and tell them that one of the best things that ever happened to you was that, and to the Ahlul Bayt and to the teachings of Ahlul Bayt, is that Idi Amin kicked y'all out of Uganda. If y'all had stayed in Uganda, you would not have been spread to Europe and Canada and America, and we would not have come into contact with the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Salam. Now, to just very quickly go over our own Aqidah as Shias, because I don't want y'all to get all mixed up, because it might happen. You're fasting. You didn't eat all day. You didn't drink all day. You need a cigarette. And we don't want you to become gumrah. We don't want you to be zal. So the best thing to do is to go over this Aqidah now. We, as Shia, Ifna Ashari Muslims, right? We believe in one Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He can't be put in a box. He can't be seen. He can't be touched. He can't be materialized in any way. Different from our Sunni brothers, we do not believe that we will see him on the day of judgment. I know some of you have heard our Sunni brothers say that on Yom al-Qiyamah, the believers will see Allah like the full moon, right? I'm sure you've heard this hadith. These eyes that we have here, they are designed to capture light reflecting from a physical object. That's how eyes work, kind of like the camera on your phone. As such, these eyes are incapable of seeing immaterial things, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah is immaterial. One of the best definitions, and I know brothers are going to get upset with me, but you got to watch your Star Wars. One of the best definitions for Allah to give to a non-Muslim is how Yoda describes the Force in Star Wars 1 when Luke travels to the Dagobah system to study with him. Okay, and one of these days, when we have more time, I'll give you a full tafsir of Star Wars and the Matrix, but that's a whole other discussion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is immaterial. You cannot confine him or put him in a box, touch him, see him, smell him, or otherwise. Even in the Quran, when they speak about that people hear Allah, that, for instance, Hazrat Musa heard Allah say to him that you should take off your shoes. This is holy land. Does Allah have a voice box? Sound is created by the vibrations that's created of air passing over our vocal cords, isn't it? Sound is created through vibration. When people say that they heard the voice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Quran, we as Shia Muslims do not believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a voice. Are y'all with me? Why doesn't Allah have a voice? Because he doesn't have a vocal cords. He doesn't have a throat. He doesn't have a larynx. And air from his lungs doesn't flow over these vocal cords. Y'all dig it so far? So what was Musa hearing? Anybody care to give me a guess? Come on. Yalla, yalla, all the Shia talk y'all do. What was Musa hearing when Allah told him, take off, what is it? take off your shoes. What was he hearing?
voice.
Man. Smoke another one and pass it to me.
Subconscious.
No. Some of our ulama say that it was, you remember they talk about the burning bush? Remember they talk about the burning bush? A plant that was burning? It was the vibrations created by that bush that Musa heard. Allah can create sound in other things, but it's not his voice. Yani Allah created vibrations and sound to come from that tree that Musa understood to be the voice of Allah. Other ulama do say that it was subconscious, yani something implanted into Musa's mind. But most of the ulama say that Allah creates vibrations, creates sound in other things, and makes that sound reach the ears of the hearer so that they can hear the voice of Allah. Y'all dig it? Khayr, inshallah. Send us we still got some more time, so let's go over a little bit more about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is one. But what does this mean by one? One time, you know, we have a song that we sing to our kids, Allah is one. Allah the eternal. No, don't know that. This is part of American Muslim history. One time when my son turned 1, then we said, Muhammad Abbas is 1. And his sister said, like Allah? Allah is not one in the meaning of like one, like a fard, like an individual, like one. He is one in the sense that there is no other. He's not in one in the sense that like the number 1 or one phone, but he's one in the sense that there is no other beyond him. And even all of us are manifestations of this one reality. There is only one existence. There is only one existence and one reality, and that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You and I are manifestations of that reality. Are we Allah? No, but everything comes from that one, that reality. There is no other reality other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends prophets. The last of them is Hazrat Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We believe in all prophets, 124,000 of them. But one of them that we don't believe in is Fard Muhammad, right? This Elijah Muhammad. Because they believe that this man is a prophet. And when you see their newspaper and you go and you buy their newspaper and their newspaper says we believe in Allah, we testify that there is no God but Allah, their niyat is Fard Muhammad. And when they say that we believe that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, their niyat is Elijah Muhammad. Right? We believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent 124,000 prophets, the last of which is Hazrat Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Muhammad al-Mustafa ibn Abdullah salawat. Now, today, the nation of Islam is moving towards tasaddum. Many of their members are starting to pray like we pray, with qiyam and ruku and sajda. They didn't used to do that. They used to do something more resembling qunut. Now, in this present time, they're moving more towards making salat, fasting in Shahr Ramadan, and having masajid. Before they had temples, and these temples were more like a Jamaat Khane, more like a Tekiya of the Sufis or something like this. They did not pray there, they did not, it was a place to meet, speak, and eat. Now they're moving more towards Tasannum, now they're opening masajids, praying more like Muslims, and even fasting in Shahr Ramadan. So little by little, these people are becoming mainstreamed into Islam. And as we mentioned last night, one of the great disservices that we as followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam do to this great religion of Islam and to the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam is that we lock ourselves up in our own little box where we're comfortable, and we rarely interact with other Muslims, whether they be Sunnis. And how can you react with a Sunni? How can you interact with Ahlul Sunnah? It would be very difficult for many of our Shia Muslim brothers and sisters to interact with Ahlul Sunnah, to go to their masjids, to pray at their masjids. Why? From one point of view, you have our problems as Shias. On the other point of view, you have their problems, their hatreds that they have, their discrimination that they practice, right? But these walls won't be broken down by locking ourselves up in our own little places. We, as followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, have an obligation to reach out to other Muslims and invite them, as an example, to our centers. Bil khusus, these people that I've mentioned over the last 2 nights, the followers of Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam, the followers of the Moorish Science Temple, and tomorrow night we'll talk about a little bit about the 5%ers of Islam, the 5% nation of gods and earths, which again, many of you don't know anything about, but you love their music. How many of y'all know about the Wu-Tang Clan? How many of you have heard about Poor Righteous Teachers, Eric B. and Rakim? Busta Rhymes. Shall I continue? All these people I just mentioned, they're 5%ers. It's a pseudo Islamic movement, and we'll talk more about it tomorrow night, inshallah. But this particular group, the 5%er nation of gods and earth, they have a very deep history and impact on music and rap music in North America. And it's through their influence in rap music that many people have accepted mainstream Islam, including Tashayyu. So let's finish it there, inshallah. Salawat. We ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should have mercy on our souls, guide us to the straight path. Ya Allah, set firm our feet in your path and strengthen our limbs in your service. Hasten the appearance of your Imam and make us his helpers and supporters upon his return. Wala hawla wala quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyul azim. If there's any questions, we'll probably have about 10 more minutes. Any questions or comments, feel free, inshallah. And please, my Pakistani brothers, don't get mad at me. I was just making fun with you. It's not your fault that Balidad Muhammad, son of Babaji and Zaradad, came to America and misled all these people. I'm just making trouble with you. Blasted Punjabis.
Just one question.
Yeah.
About Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, when he talking about the bushes making the sounds.
Yes.
Where you got those riots?
This is from Tajreed al-I'tiqad.
What you said exactly? What is the riot?
Baba, you asking me to go back 25 years. Go read Tajreed al-I'tiqad and you tell me what
I
it
know.
says.
I don't know.
Allama Tusi wrote Tajreed al-I'tiqad. Check it out. He's the one who said that the sound was created. He's the one who said that the sound was created in the tree. You're asking me to dial back my memory to 25 years ago.
Okay, but it's not Imam Ali.
No, it's Sheikh Tusi. Sheikh Tusi and Allama Hilli. You can find both of these explanations in Balahadi Ashara from Allama Hilli, as well as Sharh Tajreed al-I'tiqad from Sheikh Tusi. Yeah, man, check it out. Any other questions? Any other comments? No? Why? Salawat, Madman?
No, I'm not.
I'm not.